the latest proposed CBA includes 14 playoff teams and 17 regular season games, meaning that there is going to be a little bit more football. But it also gives more opportunities for the Vikings and Bears to get into the playoffs, and that's an idea I cannot get behind. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Am I really going to argue against more playoff football? Grossi. And today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new CBA that's been proposed by the owners. This is not from the NFL Players Association just yet. And we'll talk about whether these proposals are a good thing or a bad thing overall for the league, fans, and players. But before we get to that, you asked for it. Oh, you most certainly did. We finally got new merchandise! That's right, new merch. We have it. If you head on over to bonfire.com/store/packcast, you could pick up one of these bad boys. That's right. All hail the magical toaster. That's damn freaking fracking right. Comes in a variety of colors, and you yourself can own one today. If these sell well, we're going to have them open for about a 2-week period. If they sell well, then I'm more than happy to do other teams, whether it's the Bears, the Vikings, those teams that you might just need a toaster bath after watching. So check that out over at bonfire.com/store/packcast. You can also pick up one of the old logos if you would like to. So check that out. So let's take a gander here at some of the proposals that are in this new CBA. Now, for those who are not familiar, and you're like, Tom, you keep saying CBA, and I'm only familiar with CBD. Well, I don't blame you. I hear it reduces anxiety. I could use some. Now, what the CBA is, it's the collective bargaining agreement. So every now and then, the NFL Players Association comes together with the owners and they're like, I want more money. And they're like, we don't want to give you more money. And then they argue for a bit and then they propose an agreement in which they agree to. And basically we have all of the football operations that you see in front of us. And this sets, for like the minimum wage for football players. This talks about how many games are going to be played, how much money or how much percentage the players are going to get from each game. It covers a variety of football operations. Now, the last one was in 2011. And so that is set to run out at the end of this 2020 season. So today, the NFL owners are meeting to vote on this new proposed CBA. Now, the 32 members of the Players Association still have 2/3 of them have to agree to this first. They might not vote this week. That might come next week. And then on top of that, you need the actual players to vote on it as well and get a majority. So let's talk about what's actually proposed here. First of all, the change to playoff teams. So we've had 6 playoff teams ever since 1990, 6 playoff teams per conference, obviously. And so now what they're saying is that we're going to get 7 playoff teams per conference. So what that would mean is that on wild card weekend, you would have 6 wild card games. You'd have 3 on Saturday and you would have 3 on Sunday. And obviously the addition of, another team from each conference. Now, all that being said, you would also take away the bye week, in which there would only be 1 team per conference to get a bye, making that first round bye, a whole lot more valuable, because theoretically, you would have a team that could, finish number 2, and they're still playing on wild card weekend. And so that would make that bye more valuable. And I don't disagree with that aspect. I've had this kind of opinion for a while, that the teams that finish number 1 and number 2, getting that first round bye, they win 2 games and they're in the Super Bowl. I always thought that was like a little easy. I mean, obviously they earned it by winning all of those games during the regular season. And I'm saying that as a fan of a team who got the number 2 seed. So I don't necessarily disagree with the whole only 1 team gets a bye. I'm kind of okay with that. However, when we're looking at this from the terms of, yes, you get more playoff football. And listen, I love playoff football. I absolutely love it. And I love football in general. You would think that more football equals more happy Tom and a lot of happy fans because, football is like this finite amount of time in which it's the smallest among like all the major sports. We're talking about longevity through an entire season. You have basketball, which has a ton of games. You have baseball that has a ton of games, hockey, which has a bunch of games. And then there's football. They're like, okay, well, there's 16 games in the regular season. Then there's a few weeks of playoffs. And then, okay, we're done. Bye-bye now. And so I understand that there's this want and this desire for more and more football. And I don't think that if you added this, it would lead to a saturation of the product because, TV ratings were up this past season after going through a litany of controversies. And so like the NFL is doing pretty damn well. And Roger Goodell has talked about, wanting, I think it was within the next couple decades, wanting to make $25 billion in revenue per year. And this is a way for them to do so because they're going to be able to grow and expand their product. And obviously you see this with them going over into Mexico. You see this going over the pond as well. And you see them trying to just find all different sources of revenue. I can find a really easy one for you. Make it easier for fans to watch your game so I don't have to go through DirecTV to stream the frickin' frackin' Packers. There you go, NFL. There's a bright idea. You get a whole bunch of money just from that. Sorry, that was a little bit of a personal rant. So going back to the playoffs, I think it does dilute the product slightly. Now, for example, like this year, you would have had like the Steelers and the Rams. They would have gotten in. Would it have ruined anything? Probably not. But I kind of like the very selective nature of the NFL playoff system. And we talked about this because I say it's very selective, except for, like the NFC East, who's just, they're putting forth just a big pile of garbage that's on fire. Like, I would rather see that change rather than add another team. Now, there has been times where, you have like 10 and 6 teams who have not made it into the playoffs, and under this new rule, they would have, or at least they would have a better opportunity to do so. But I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like it dilutes it a little bit, and I think I have a bit of an issue with it. It makes the NFL playoffs seem like a little less prestigious. I could be wrong here, and I could be in the minority here, but I don't know. Like, I feel like this is not something I asked for. Like, this is not something I'm like, man, I wish I could watch 2 more, mediocre teams go at it. Because I would assume under these new rules, since the number 2 seed doesn't have a bye, the number 2 seed would be playing the number 7 seed. Like, the majority of the time, that's not going to be good football. I mean, like, it's not. So, I'm kind of meh about that. But then there's another caveat here in which they want to go to 17 regular season games. And the way that they would do this is they would eliminate one of the preseason games. So obviously right now there's only 4 preseason games, so this would knock it down to 3, and they would have 17 regular season games. Now, they would still only have 1 bye. So my main concern at this point would be like, okay, well, what's going to happen to the amount of injuries, right? So you throw in another game, another week, and, 1 less of trying to, work out draft talent. More people are going to get hurt. And so I feel like not only is that going to reduce the actual play of football, but at the same time, you're going to have an extra week of crappy football. We all know when we go and watch in September that the teams that are playing in September, right, the way that they are playing, that's not what they're going to look like in December unless you're the Bengals. They were just hot garbage the whole way through. But you look at it from a sense of like, okay, what are you doing to your actual product when you're not putting forth your best guys? And I think that while you have the preseason, which nobody likes, nobody enjoys the preseason, I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh man, I can't wait to see Tim Boyle take the field again. It's not going to happen. But I think there's a tremendous amount of value in evaluating your talent. And so I have a little bit of an issue with that. And on top of that, I think the risk for injury is incredibly high. And so here's what they're willing to offer players in exchange for this new system. So right now, players get 47% of each game. So that means that, comparatively, the owners get 53%, right? And so with that, this would be moved to 48% for the players. The owners would get 52%. So David Bakhtiari said this on Twitter, and he said, listen, you have that 48%, which is divided amongst 1,700 players, and then you have that 52%, which is divided upon 31 owners. Now, obviously, the owners, they paid a whole lot of money for this football team, and because of that, they're getting a whole lot of compensation. But at the same time, I feel like this is not like, oh man, like a huge win for the Players Association. And on top of that, if they go to 17 games during the regular season, they get 48.5. Now, with all that being said, that may be revenue up to about $5 billion that would go to the players. And you look at that number and you're like, wow, that's a big number. And then again, you're dividing it amongst 1,700 players. It's really not that much, because you would think about what this should be is like a 50-50 split, because even if you split it down the middle and said 50-50, you're still dividing it only by 32 owners. Well, 31, because the Packers don't have one. So with that, I mean, I think it makes a lot more sense just to do a 50-50 split, but, people gonna be greedy. There's also new rules that would be, for example, like the start of camp, there would be an acclimation period of 5 days without any hitting, and then there would be a limit on like consecutive days of actual contact, which was just like, yeah. And I get it. Again, you're trying to like limit injury, and this is to, prolong or increase the longevity of the player's health. But, you're also adding another game on top of that. If you want to watch out for the player's health, it's probably going to be targeting the games. You also saw like the NFL minimum salaries would get a 25% increase. So right now, like the minimum salary that an NFL football player can get is $510,000. That would jump up to $640,000, which, by the way, that is also what, like, you look at the XFL, like, and they're not getting paid anywhere close to that. If a guy has a shot at the NFL, he's gonna be like, bye-bye XFL, and not even think twice. But that being said, like those are positive steps, and those are great things for the players. But the NFL Players Association is most likely going to counter this. They have obviously not agreed to this. Today, the only thing that could happen is the owners are going to vote on it. But I'm curious on what you think. Do you think that having an additional team from every conference in the playoffs is a positive thing? Do you think that it's a negative thing? Do you want to see 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday for Wild Card Weekend? And what do you think about a 17-game, regular season? Do you think that's going to increase injuries? Do you think there should be another bye week in there? I don't know. I mean, what would be cool is like you might see like some more Saturday games. Obviously, the NFL is like just slowly taking over the week, which is wonderful, because you have obviously NFL Sunday, then you have Monday Night Football, then you have Thursday Night Football, and it's kind of like dominating the entire week. So if you throw Saturdays in there too, like a little bit earlier in the season, like I'm all for it, because I love me some more football. But again, my concern was that it would just dilute the product that was being put on the field. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon members at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.